Hello, Accounting Superstars. This is Professor Don Bush from the Accounting Superstar channel. So good to have you here. I've been a professor for 30 years and a CPA for about that long, and I've got great ways to explain accounting. So welcome aboard here. Today's lesson is about job cost sheets. And they're very easy. They're everywhere when it comes to job costing. There's two basic types of operations when it comes to manufacturing and a lot of services too, and that is doing custom work. And if so, you'll need to use job cost sheets or process accounting. That's where you make the same thing day in and day out. So let's study a little bit about job cost sheets. They're really easy, folks. Super easy. So coming down the page here, job cost sheets reside in the work in process inventory. In fact, they're the heart and soul, as I like to say, of work in process. So here's what's going on in this work in process. We've got the Sunset Sailboat Company, and they build sailboats, 25 to 35 foot sailboats. And here's a picture of the factory floor, and they have molds of fiberglass hulls. And here's a guy installing some stuff onto a boat. So this is work in process. This is where all the action is in a manufacturing process, and a lot of times in a service process too. And the supporting documentation for work in process are the job cost sheets. Now, this company, just for illustrative purposes, I only have two job cost sheets. So we're pretending that Sunset Sailboat Company has only two sailboats in process. Now, in reality, a sailboat manufacturer might have many sailboats in process, maybe 20, 30, 40 sailboats in process at one time. But just to keep it easy, we have two. Now, these are custom sailboats, and one of the sailboats here is called Summer Breeze. Kind of a pretty name. So Summer Breeze, and you can see that a lot of labor has been put into this boat, a lot of raw materials, and a lot of overhead too. And the overhead is being applied at a rate of $1.50 for every $1 of direct labor. So for instance, up here, they added $10,000 of direct labor, so they would add $15,000 of overhead. $1.50 of overhead for every $1. That's called their predetermined overhead rate. But that's not the focus of the lesson here. But what we have here on these job cost sheets, we have the three types of costs. We've got direct labor, raw materials, and applied overhead. And this is where all the costs come together. They converge, and they're placed into this inventory account. So all the manufacturing costs in a factory at this point in time are not expensed. They're not expensed, but they're part of inventory. And they won't be expensed until the sailboats, in this case, are sold. So Summer Breeze, if you add up all the costs that have been applied to Summer Breeze, all the labor, raw materials, and the overhead, it adds up to $102,000. Now, Summer Breeze is not completely done yet, and that's why it's still in work in process. But when it is finished, they'll move the Summer Breeze sailboat into finished goods, and this job cost sheet will be totaled up and closed out, and a journal entry will be made to move the sailboat from work in process to finished goods. Now, the other boat that's in process here is called Money Pit. And it's not as far along as the other boat, but they've used some direct labor, they've used raw materials, and they have applied some overhead. So there you go. So $1.50 for every $1 of direct labor. The total costs for the Money Pit add up to $20,000. And the job is not complete either. And because if it was complete, they'd move it out of work in process and into finished goods. So we only have two boats in process at this point. So one of them is $102,000 grand total, and the other is at $20,000. And of course, to finish out the boats, they're going to have to add more labor, more materials, more overhead. In the accounting department, there will be a general ledger account, and it'll be an inventory account, so it shows up on the balance sheet, and it will be the grand total of all the updated job cost sheets. So here's the first one, Summer Breeze, and here's the second one, Money Pit, and it adds up to 122,000. So this is how this is the basis of the work in process inventory. The job cost sheets add up. If this accounting is done right, if you add up the totals on these job cost sheets, it should equal the work in process inventory. Now, of course, most businesses will have many more than just 2 job cost sheets or 2 jobs going at once, but that's all that they have here. But one thing before we go, I want to just remind everybody that work in process, it truly is the place where everything comes together. Raw materials is put into work in process as the direct raw materials are requisitioned, like teak wood and motors and marine radios. And direct labor, those are the people that actually build the boats, like this guy in the red t-shirt. And finally, we have to apply the third cost, which is overhead. And overhead consists of things like indirect labor. Here's a guy cleaning out the factory. He's a janitor. Indirect materials like glue and things that are not real expensive, things that are not worth tracking real closely. I mean, they're important. They are very, very important materials, but they're not worth tracking real closely. And then other factory costs like insurance, property tax, heating the building, and so on and so forth. So, folks, I hope this lesson helped you out. The main thing to take away from this lesson is that the job cost sheets are the documentation for work in process inventory. And work in process inventory, this is where everything comes together. And if you add up all the job cost sheets, it should equal the accounting general ledger account work in process inventory. All right, well, I hope this helped you out. Hit that like button and the subscribe button. Also, I've got a webpage called accountingsuperstars.com, and I've got all these videos listed by topic, so that way they're easier to find. So check it out, accountingsuperstars.com. Until next time, over and out.